7.5 minutes after the hour of, 3 o'clock? Yes, that's what it is, 3 o'clock, 7.5 minutes after the hour of 3. Welcome in. It is a Monday, May the 22nd, 1989. Lassiter with you until 6 as I am every weekday right here at the radio station. 970 WFLA. Somewhat of an esoteric Monday, I fear it will end up being, but nonetheless, let me see if I can't focus it in to the best of my ability. A couple of things. First of all, really has nothing whatsoever to do with what we're going to be talking about today. At least I hope it doesn't, because there's not really much to say. But a gentleman by the name of Rabbi Jan Bresky is currently at Shands Memorial Hospital in Gainesville awaiting a bone marrow transplant. He is suffering from leukemia. There is a fund that has been established for Rabbi Bresky. I have always been the kind of person who has a very difficult time accepting something at face value. The last several days, of course, being a talk radio listener, I've been listening to a lot of conversation, none of which really I had gotten involved in on my show, about some things that people seem to accept at face value. Things like, why does a parent have the right to force his teenage daughter to have a baby that she does not want? Why? I mean, it seems to be something that an awful lot of people have just taken for granted, that a parent somehow has a right to force his or her daughter to have a baby that she doesn't want. And people just seem to accept it. Well, like, I'm a parent, so therefore I guess I own this thing walking around on two legs and breathing with a couple of eyes and some gray matter in between its ears, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Where does this authority come from? Where is this authority that says you have the right to force your child to do something that he or she does not want to do? Be it have a baby or walk across the street or whatever, when the child has already reached the so-called age of reason. Maybe not legal majority, but so-called age of reason. And then some other things that would come to mind would be, since the fetus has not one human characteristic, not one human characteristic, yeah, I know a fetus resembles physically a human, but has no human characteristics, i.e. does not love, does not hate, cannot reason, cannot deal with abstracts, etc., etc., etc. Since the fetus has not one human characteristic, why do we insist on pretending that it's human? Why do you think it matters to God that two people be married before they engage in sex? Do you think God has nothing better to do, has nothing more important to worry about? Isn't that a little bit arrogant on the part of those who would say that, well, no, he really doesn't? Why is it that the so-called conservative element in this country are so opposed to the taking of life, such as in abortions? But most of them are armed with guns. Who are they armed against? Their brothers in Christ? If I can have no proof whatsoever that God exists, and I can't, I'm told that I must accept God on faith. I also have no proof that the devil exists. In essence, I'm told I must accept the devil on faith as well. Isn't that kind of silly? I mean, isn't that one of the more silly things that has ever been advanced? That I must accept the devil on faith? I must believe in the devil? Why is it wrong for two people of the same gender to engage in sexual activity? I know that it's not a pretty sight. But why is it wrong? How come the freedom-loving people in Nicaragua are supposed to take up arms and kill the Marxists, but the freedom-loving people of China are supposed to be nonviolent in their dealings with the Marxists? If people believe in a vastly better afterlife, and they all tell me that they do, then why do they do everything in their power to stay here and keep from going there? See, these are questions that, frankly, I feel the world would be a far better place if you guys would address these questions. No, I have no answers. I hasten to point out I have utterly no answers whatsoever, only opinions. I have no answers because none exist. But I'm fascinated with your answers to questions like these, so I ask the questions, and I also feel that you would probably be better off if you'd ask the questions too, but then that's being somewhat of an elitist, isn't it? We have so far garnered 3 or 4 people calling up and going, I'm going to literally hear it right through the glass. People who I guess can't deal with these questions, can't deal with little things like, since a fetus has not one human characteristic, why do we insist on pretending that it's human? People who can't deal with questions like, what gives the parent a right to force his or her daughter to have a baby against her will? People who just can't deal with questions like that. I don't know, maybe you can't deal with them either. I'll just have to take my chances this afternoon. I'll give you the telephone numbers, 461-9352, 461 WFLA, that's the phone number in Pinellas. In Hillsborough, 990-9352, 990-WFLA. It's not a poll, I have no intention of reading the questions to you, so don't call up and say, oh, okay, read me the questions, because I'm just going to hang up on you if you do. You can't answer them if you can't remember them. Answer any one or any 8 that you'd like. But don't ask me to read them to you, because I'm not going to. I would hope against hope that you would have some answers for these questions, because a lot of these questions, you see, bring up a lot of grief in this world. A lot of these questions are directly related to many of the problems that we have in this world. A lot of these questions can be settled by you and you alone. And I look down at the front and I see there's one person where one person that might like to take a shot at some. The rest of you, hey. I don't know what the hell's the matter with you people. 3 o'clock every damn day. It's the same crap. Pull the teeth. You got the damn phone numbers. There to questions. You want to play the show? Okay. If you don't, Jay Marvin's over there telling you that he's not going to have an abortion. Every night this week at 7:30 on WTO. Right. I'll go through this stuff again. As a matter of fact, I may go through it for the next 3 hours. What the hell? You guys don't want to talk about it? You can just sit there and listen to me. I'm a hell of a lot more fascinating than anything else that's on in this market. That's for damn sure. I started out by talking about things that I don't quite understand. All things that are very relevant in this day and age. All things that are very relevant in this community. I mentioned, for example, I don't understand parents who think that they have the right to force their daughters to have babies. I mean, I can't think of anything more utterly absurd than to imagine that a man or a woman had the right, for example, to insist that their daughter got pregnant and had a baby. Well, if they don't have a right to insist that the daughter gets pregnant, then where in the hell do they get off thinking they have a right to insist that a daughter who gets herself pregnant, quite possibly through no fault of her own, can be forced to have a baby? Which is literally a life-threatening situation. Literally a life-threatening situation, especially when you're young. I talked about things like that. Things where your dollars and my dollars, our state dollars, tax dollars, are being used to play with some 15-year-old kid's life. Because some very uptight people can't deal with sex. Some very uptight people can't deal with a woman having a right to her own body. And then I talked about, since a fetus does not have one human characteristic, not one, why do we insist on pretending that it is human? Oh, we're not talking about a heartbeat. Or that jerk Richard that calls up every other show. What's the matter, Richard? You afraid of this one? Now, at 8 weeks, the fetus does this, that, or the other thing. It sucks a thumb. It has a heartbeat. Yeah, and that has a heartbeat, too. But a fetus has not one human characteristic. Not one, does it? Don't tell me it has a nose and 2 eyes. So does a squirrel. Don't tell me it has a brain wave. So does a raccoon. Well, now we're down to 2 lines that are empty after we sit here and browbeat the audience a little bit. What the hell is it with you people? Every damn day, you got to browbeat them. Hey, smack! Unbelievable. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA. The hell with you too, Tampa. Let's go to Tampa again. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello, phone?
Yeah.
Yes, if my daughter would get pregnant at 15, I would tell her to try to keep it. If she wasn't going to get pregnant anymore, I would help her. But if she was going, and if she did want to abort the kid, I would tell her not to have any more children until she could take care of them, because she would have to get out of my house if she had any more.
Great. Oh, you sound like a great mom.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, not just a great mom, but a great lover of humanity. Throw the girl out on the street.
Yes. So well, okay. That's what I would say.
Oh, I didn't ask what you would say. As a matter of fact, I don't give a damn what you say. It had nothing to do with any of the questions I brought up. Well, that doesn't matter to you, does it?
Well, you did.
No, I didn't.
Well, that's what I understood you to say.
Oh.
I think,
No, what I said is where does a parent come up with this bizarre idea that they have a right to tell a daughter to have a child? Well, that was the question that I had asked. I didn't ask what an old bat like you would do about it.
In your house, you have a right to know what's going on. If she's 15, you're taking care of her. She lives in your house, you have a right.
No, you don't have a right to tell anybody to have a baby, do you?
No, you don't have to. Yes. You have a right.
You have a right to tell her to have a baby.
You have the right to tell them not to have a baby.
No, that's not what we were talking about. No, what we're talking about is, do you have a right to tell somebody to have a baby?
Yes.
Yes, you do have a right to tell them to have a baby.
Yes, if they want to take care of it.
If they want to take care of it.
Yes, if they can get out at that age and take care of it.
Do you have any idea at all what the hell it is I'm talking about?
So that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Well, why the hell don't you get your own show?
Well, if I could, I would.
If you could, you would.
Yes, I think
I'll be a hell of a lot more. I'll be honest with you, a hell of a lot more exciting than most of the shows on in this market. That's for sure.
I'm not fat, so.
You're not fat. Oh.
I'm not fat. You fat. I hear talking about you fat. Maybe I could do a little better because I'm not fat.
Yeah.
Okay, take it easy.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
You got a lot of fat in between your ears, though, don't you, sweetheart? Clearwater, you're on there at 970 WFLA. I'm clear.
Hi.
Hi.
First, I would like to make a comment about Rabbi Bresky. How much money do you think God is going to donate since God is going to refuse to cure him?
You've got to be about the lowest scum I've ever had the displeasure of talking to.
He believes in God.
Get off my phone, you miserable bitch. Here's a man laying there with leukemia. Yeah, I got a lot of problems with Rabbi Bresky. For one, the man just can't quite seem to understand that he has no business in trying to continually try to bring me around to God. But you have to be the lowest bitch I've ever had the displeasure of having on my radio show. The lowest of the low. A man laying there dying with leukemia, and you're going to play games, huh? Who the hell do you think you are? Don't you ever, if I ever hear your voice on this show again, lady, ever, I will hang up on you instantly. And I don't even give a damn if you apologize. You're the lowest of the low. You're a snake. You're a scumbag. Largo, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Yes, sir. You don't have any children, from what I understand, do you?
That's right.
Well, how in the hell would a big fat pig like you understand anything about children and what it is to raise children when big fat pigs like you can't even have them?
Well, you're not a human being, so what the hell would you understand about being a human being? St. Petersburg, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hello?
Yeah?
Too bad your mother didn't abort you.
Oh. Is that about it?
That's it.
Another lover of humanity. Newport Richard, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Mad Dog.
Hi.
The answer to all of your questions is personified by your last four callers on the air. It's ignorance. I would like to say, regarding your question on the difference between a fetus and a person, these people, such as Richard, haven't the slightest idea about biology. They couldn't differentiate between life as to persona and a fetus. And it's simply ignorance, Mad Dog. That's the answer. There isn't any other answer. I mean, these people have closed their minds to any intelligent exploration as to answers to any of the questions you ask. And that's what you've heard with your first four callers today. What other answer could there possibly be?
I don't know, Carolyn, but I thank you much.
You're welcome.
Take care. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Don't worry. In the 5 o'clock hour, the calls get good. Unfortunately, in that hour, we don't have any time to take them. Temple Terrace, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
I wanted to talk to you about not right or wrong, but why homosexuality is incorrect.
Okay.
As I would suspect you know, every living thing, whether it's a blade of grass
or whether it's some microscopic paramecium, whether it reproduces asexually, sexually, is here for two basic purposes. One, to propagate the species, and two, to preserve itself. Now, it's my assertion, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, I wouldn't dare to speculate on that. It's my assertion that since scientifically speaking, homosexuality or having sex with someone of the same gender is ineffective in either propagating the species or...
Therefore, I would have to assume that that sex between the different genders that does not result in propagating the species, i.e. Where birth control is used, that must be wrong then, too.
No, I didn't say it was wrong, Bob.
Well, it must be wrong using your...
Did I say it was wrong, Bob? Did I ever say...
It must be wrong using your logic.
No, incorrect. You're not, as usual, you're not listening. Let me finish.
Bye. St. Petersburg, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello?
Hi.
This is Lillian. This is Bob.
Yep.
I just want to say that this Jew has a hell of a lot of nerve in your station. I've never seen a poor Jew in my life. And let him die and go to hell.
28 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock. I'm not quite sure what has happened here in the last couple of days. But for some very bizarre reason, and especially I'm not terribly sure what's happening this afternoon, but right now I despise you people. Right now I think you're the most despicable audience a man has ever had the displeasure of dealing with. If this is the only thing that can dial the phone, then to hell with each and every one of you. Michael, play music. Play anything. I don't want to talk to these people. Just a little bit disgusted. I am so sick and tired of running into righteous people out there. No, I'd never call you, Bob. I'd never call you. Gee whiz. Well, this is a two-way telephone talk program. To hell with you if you'd never call me. You know what I mean? Because what I have to deal with are jerks and idiots. Now I know that you love the jerks and idiots, and a lot of times I love them too. But I brought up a fair number of very serious things that are going on in this country right now, and it's just too damn bad if you don't want to respond. And I also brought up something else, a man who's laying in bed dying, a man who happens to be Jewish. And I just cannot believe that damn board isn't filled with people enraged at what they heard. Enraged! I can't believe that. It's one of the reasons I'm so very, very disappointed in you today. It's one of the reasons I have no problem whatsoever in saying to hell with you today. I don't want to talk to you. I will not talk to you for the rest of the day. Go to hell.
Fighting soldiers from the sky, fearless men who jump and die, men who mean just what they say. Louisiana lived a man called Doc Millsap and his pretty wife Hannah. When they raised up a son, they could eat up his weight in groceries. Named him after a man of the cloth. Called him Amos Mose.
Instead of playing music, and since this is a very well-paying job, I don't think I'm going to risk blowing it. If the station wants me to talk to anti-Semitics on the air, then I guess that's what I'll have to do. So, Michael, give me a call. Which one do you recommend? Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
I just tuned on the radio and then I called the young man to see if I had the right station. I just turned on the radio and then I called the young man.
Did he tell you to turn your radio down?
I'm very handicapped and I can't get out of my bed as easily as he would know. He always makes these assumptions. I'm very handicapped and I can't...
What did you want to talk about, ma'am?
I wanted to ask about Rabbi Bresky.
What about him, ma'am? Ma'am, stop listening to your radio and listen to your phone.
I'm listening to Bob and I'm not...
Listen to your phone, ma'am, not your radio. Listen to your telephone now.
All right, thank you.
What did you want to know?
I wanted to know about Rabbi Bresky.
What about him, ma'am?
Excuse me?
What about him?
Are we to make a contribution or what?
If you would like to make a contribution, ma'am, you can.
And where would we send the contribution?
I will give the address one last time. I would strongly suggest that you write it down. You may send it to the Jewish Media Relations Council, Suite 320, 3118, Gulf to Bay Boulevard.
Well, I thank you so very much.
You're quite welcome. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, I was listening to your show on the radio. I listen to it off and on. I'm just outraged by the phone calls. The last I heard, you were playing music, and I don't blame you for walking off. I think it's pathetic, the anti-Semitic phone calls that I've been hearing.
And rather pathetic, too.
And in reference to the issue that you addressed earlier, I do not believe a parent has a right to tell anybody who to have a baby. And I know that maybe this isn't what you consider a good call because I agree with you, but when I hear remarks like this, especially pertaining to the anti-Semitism, I get angry and scared at the same time. I hope it's not representative of the society in general, or, you know, I wish I could, I hope it's just not representative of the Tampa Bay area.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now there are 3 calls on the board. I have no idea what the other 2 are, but I can only assume. I can only assume when a man is laying in bed dying of leukemia, fighting for his life, and a community does not become outraged at the type of scum that were on this station earlier in this hour, then I can only assume that it is a community that just doesn't care.
And I have to agree with you. And as a Jewish person, I am very frightened by this. But I thank you for your response to it.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Off it is to St. Petersburg. Saint, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Hi, Mr. Lassiter.
Yes, sir.
I just moved down recently from out of state, and I was listening to your program, laying by poolside, enjoying your wonderful climate. But what is the matter with your people here? They are the craziest bunch. I have never heard of such hatred that is built up in this area. Is it because there are old people down here that don't understand that there is a new world out there?
What does that mean?
I'm sorry?
What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. When I hear these
just thought you were going to say it anyway.
Well, all I'm saying is that there has got to be some, I would say, some education that has been somehow misled, that these children that are growing up with either parents like this or their let's say their grandparents, there has to be some change done down here. I can't understand how people think like this.
Oh, they don't think like this back up north?
Well, not in the same way. Maybe because we don't have talk radio.
What do you mean, though? Where the hell do you think the people from here come from?
Truthfully, it seems like it's attracting the worst.
Oh.
It seems to be attracting people that have no sense of morals, no sense of duty towards family, towards other people.
And where did you say you come from, sir?
I come from Georgia.
From Georgia?
Yeah.
That's a place where they used to hang people for being black?
Yes. And they were wrong, weren't they?
Yeah, they sure were.
And I guess it's my generation that has seen that.
Isn't Georgia the town where they still throw rocks at people for being black?
Again, there's always the fringe, like in any race or in any state, from all over, maybe all over the world.
Thank you very much for coming down here and telling us what's wrong with this. Clearwater, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
I'll tell you, I'm outraged. I cannot believe the first couple of calls. But, you know, getting to your subject, I cannot understand why on earth any human being would make another human being bear a child that they cannot take care of or would not like to take care of. I really and truly have gotten to the point where the more I hear these idiots and these morons, the more I think, I'm getting really frightened by what's going on. The reasoning, and you know, some of these people, they pretend as if they are really the important or knowledgeable people, and to actually pretend that we can make young women their children. But you see, that's just the beginning. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the fetus. What it has to do is with the control. There is this feeling that, I don't know, men or society is losing control over a certain group of people, and I think they don't care for that. But anyway, the more I hear about this, the angrier I get. And I also feel very sorry about Rabbi Bresky. I think it's outrageous what that woman just said. I think it's outrageous. But then again...
She wasn't the only one.
I know. And, it gets to the point where you just
two
say...
that got on the air. There are quite a number that didn't get on the air.
I believe you. I really believe you because...
I'm just disgusted with the rest of the people in this audience. There are 2 lines lit here. 2 lines.
I know. I believe you. I was in the car. I would have called sooner, but I was coming back from somewhere. And, but you almost get to the point where you just want to turn everything off and just say, I cannot believe that we are living in a society like this. And the worst part of this all is the fact that the people who are professing to be so self-righteous and so morally correct and so Christian, these are the same people who have absolutely no tolerance for anybody, anything, and also no respect, none whatsoever, for anything, I believe, including themselves. And I think that is the basic problem, that they really hate themselves. And so therefore they have to bring that hate onto whatever they feel that they might be able to control. Anyway, Bob, I'm angry. But, I have been angry for a long time, as you well know. And when I hear someone like that, I tell you, my blood just starts racing, and I get to the point where I want to scream. But anyway, I believe that there are a lot of people out there who believe the way I do, and I think I really would urge them to call and say, enough is enough from these idiots and from these morons.
Thank you much.
Thank you, Bob.
St. Petersburg, you're on the air, 970 WFLA.
Bob, I second everything this lady just said, and I applaud you for hanging up on that bitch. That woman has bothered me for years. She even calls Larry King at night, and she has this robotic voice that she just goes on with her nonsensical hatred, and it's so deep, that hatred. It just comes over the phone, and it tears at you, and it needs to be shut off. We have a certain amount of freedom, but we also have to watch letting the hatred takes hold of people, and it becomes like a ground fire and spreads, and that's what's happening in this country. When I see what's happening with the Chinese students now, and I see what's happening with our country, we can learn from them what democracy and love of your people is about, because we have turned into people who hate.
One of the things that just amazed me this weekend, first of all, was, of course, Friday night watching on CNN in particular that incredible night of television.
Really?
But then the rest of the weekend on both television and radio, watching and listening to the story in China coming on 3rd, 4th, or 5th after a number of traffic accidents and things of that nature. People just don't quite seem to understand what's going on in the world, do they?
The other thing, though, that really disturbs me is to see the politicians and people in the public eye coming on and saying, oh, isn't it wonderful that everyone wants to be like us? Well, God forbid. We're turning into a dictatorship, and they're learning freedom. We've got a lot to learn. And I suggest that you and every other talk show host hang up and swear out at all the people who speak hatred and stupidity from now on. I'm right behind you, and I hope other people are too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hey, Mr. Lassiter.
Yeah.
A quick question for you. Why do you believe all this anti-Semitic BS has come about lately. I don't
Hasn't come
understand.
about lately, sir. It's been a fact of life for almost 2,000 years.
I mean, but what directly do you think could be held responsible?
What do you think it is?
I don't know. These people have been persecuted for years, it seems like to me. I mean, if you read in the Bible, they've been persecuted, and nowadays they're persecuted. And the poor race, I mean, they're just a little faction over there if you base it on all the millions of other types of people or factions over there, and they're persecuted endlessly, it seems. Why is there such hatred for them over here?
Maybe some of it might be a religion that continues to suggest in a very, very subliminal but yet nonetheless very real way that the Jews killed their Savior.
Well, perhaps, but that's not for people to decide. It's for Jesus Christ to decide. Jesus is giving them another chance. I mean, come on. He's coming back and he's going to save everybody.
Jesus has given the Jews another chance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, a quick brain tease for everybody's out there. What if Jesus comes back and he long ago forgave the Jews for whatever that they may have done, and
what do the Jews do, sir?
Well, like you just said, they persecuted their Savior. What if he came back and he was a Jew, and that everybody who is anti-Semitic at this point, he's going to turn around and be the same way toward them? Let them think about that for a while and see what they think.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Mr. Lassiter,
yeah.
I'm glad that you shut those people up and played your music, and I'm behind PJ. I think that we should really not listen to these people. When they call, just tell them to go blow like you've been telling them. Because I'll tell you, it is so disgusting to hear some of this stuff. And I'd like to know what their reasons are for this. Why do they feel this way? Why do they feel this way?
If you're asking me, ma'am, I can't answer the question.
Well, perhaps they can tell you why.
Perhaps they could. Thank you very much. John Richards standing by at the WFLA News Desk. John, I understand about people that I do not understand about this market, that I do not understand about the society that I live in, the times that I live in. 3 years ago when I first came here, I remember the first time I heard what came to be known as the rock and roll Klansman on the air. Suckered me in like a ton of bricks. I was just absolutely infuriated. Just absolutely, entirely, completely, unequivocally infuriated. I was still working afternoons over at Plop. And in essence, pretty much the same thing happened that happened this afternoon. Nothing. Just absolutely nothing. This man comes on the air spewing the most vile racial prejudice and hatred. And I sat there and, in essence had a stroke on the air. Bitching and moaning and screaming and hollering. And in essence doing the same thing that I did this afternoon, saying, what the hell's the matter with you people? You make me sick to my stomach. Well, you're too busy? You're too busy to defend your neighbors? Your brothers in Christ, for those of you who are great Christians? Your co-workers? You're too busy? And finally, after 10 or 15 or 20 minutes of screaming and shouting and bitching and moaning, the board became full with people who had finally been browbeaten into saying the right thing. And it just didn't matter. It just wasn't quite the same thing. And so this afternoon I come on and I open my show with a very brief little thing about Jan Bresky. Jan Bresky is a man that I met again about 3 years ago. He was a cocky young rabbi who wanted to take on Lassiter, and we had a series of 2 or 3 shows over at PLP that were just absolutely dynamite. I don't personally happen to like Jan Bresky that much, I'll tell you the truth. Because Jan Bresky seems hell-bent on converting me, which angers me to no end. I have told him time and time and time again, back off, Jan, and time again he hasn't. But I picked up the paper on Saturday, and I saw that a very decent man, a little bit too damned arrogant for my liking, thank you, a man who doesn't have respect for my religious beliefs, thank you, but a very decent man is in a hell of a lot of trouble laying in a hospital in Gainesville. A man whose life has fallen apart in the last year. Such is life. You know, hey, everybody's got tough times. But I know that a lot of you like Jan Bresky. And I know that a lot of you probably didn't know. So I gave the address of where you might send a contribution. And by the way, I sent mine this morning. And I gave the address of the hospital that he was in. And two snakes who happened to listen to this show got through on the air and said some of the most vile, again, things that you can imagine. And a number of snakes didn't make it on the air. And I can't believe, I just can't believe that a community like this, a community that thinks it's the next great city, a community that thinks it's filled with good, decent people, basically sit there with their mouths shut. Have you ever heard the phrase silence is consent? I wonder if the mother of Jan Bresky's children is listening this afternoon. I wonder if Jan Bresky's children are listening this afternoon. Do you give a damn? It's getting awfully tiresome. Being the one guy in the community who gets mad. It's getting awfully tiresome being the one guy or one of a handful of people in the community who gets angry at stupidity, who gets angry at bigotry, who gets angry at callousness. It's getting real damn tiresome. It's getting real damn tiresome playing dentist every first hour, too. And it's getting real damn tiresome beating you over the head every day when it shouldn't have to be done. I'm sorry your lives are so busy. Isn't it amazing how unbusy they are when there are other topics to be talked of? Like crotch lice.
Radio 970
May 22nd, 1989, Monday, 12 minutes after the hour, 4 o'clock. Welcome back, hour number 2. I promised myself I was going to stay in a very good mood today on the air. But then, what the hell, I didn't know there were a couple of people out there waiting in ambush for me. I started the last hour by giving a little bit of information on Rabbi Jan Bresky, the fact that he's in a hospital in Gainesville, Shands Memorial to be exact. And that a fund has been established because the rabbi is in a lot of trouble financially in terms of taking care of his medical bills, an awful lot of trouble. And I gave out an address which brought out some anti-Semites, which just brought out, I suppose, the worst in me. But I'm going to give the address again because I know there are all of those good people out there who are just a little bit too busy, with your lives and fixing supper and all that kind of stuff to call in the show. But maybe you'd like to send along a contribution, when your busy times are over a little bit later on this evening or perhaps tomorrow morning. If you would like to contribute, the address is the Jewish Media Relations Council, JMRC, Suite 320, 3118, Gulf to Bay Boulevard, Clearwater, 34619. If you're not too busy a little bit later on. Lakeland, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hello, Bob.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say that those anti-Semites that called in are as far below the AIDS virus on the evolutionary scale as the AIDS virus is below a human being.
What's that mean?
I think they're slime.
Well, we all know that there's slime, but I'm a little bit more concerned about the people who just don't bother to respond to them, the people who just kind of let them go. You see, the anti-Semite at least stands up and I can find out where the hell he or she is coming from. It's all the rest of us who just don't seem to find the time anymore to be able to stand up to the anti-Semite. It kind of makes me wonder where they stand.
I agree with you there, and that's why I wanted to call in, is to tell you where I stand on those slime. And I'd like to give them an ultimatum. Either they can join the human race and act like decent people, or they can do what Hitler did and kill themselves.
Take care. Sure he meant well. Tampa, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, hello, Bob?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm glad you cut that horrible woman off when you did. I really am. And I took the address down when you gave it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I want to tell you is you're up against some hot stuff now. Our Timmy is on this afternoon on the other station.
Strange you're not listening to him, Rosemary.
Pardon?
I said strange you're not listening to him.
I was. But I was listening to you, too, for a few minutes. Just for a few minutes.
Right. That's why it was almost an hour ago when the slut called in. Let's see. It's Largo. Largo, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, I just got home from work a little while ago, and I just wanted to say that you're not alone. I'm annoyed. I guess I have to say that for the radio, but I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words as to what the FCC would approve of, or about what I'd like to say about those people. I'm Catholic, but my wife is Jewish, and my kids are being raised Jewish, and I haven't met him personally, but I saw him at our temple. As far as trying to convert you, I've experienced that from a lot of these people who walk up to you on the street and start handing you all kinds of stuff in the name of Christianity, and even though I was raised Catholic, I find that it's becoming a very distasteful thing, even feeling myself a Christian. I think it's low, and I don't know. I'm so mad. I'm shaking.
I don't know what is becoming of us. I don't know what is becoming to us. What's becoming to us? Becoming of us. It worries me more and more and more with each passing day, because I see things that other people just turn their heads away from. They are not necessarily in and of themselves individually very destructive or something to be worried about as individual incidents, but when they're put together, the cumulative effect it's scary. It's real scary.
Yeah.
We just don't like each other. We despise each other, and that scares the hell out of me, because what is the future of a nation that doesn't like itself?
I have a feeling that they might be afraid, these people. I think that they feel inferior. I mean, they may be tooting their horns and thumping their Bibles, but take a look at the record. They've only been around since, was it Martin Luther? So you go back
Who's only been around?
1,500 years. These people, these Christians, okay? And
no, wait a second. I don't really think that has anything whatsoever to do with, Christians. We're talking about anti-Semites, period.
Yeah, well, you go back, I think mostly, sure, you're going to get atheists in there too, and you're going to get people that don't care one way or the other. But I just find that since I've moved down here,
atheism or Christianity has nothing whatsoever to do with anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is just the hate of people.
Unfortunately,
it's ignorance. It's not
religion.
religion.
Are the ones that get the straddling the line like I am. It's just kind of scary. I don't know. I mean, you put it really well. I enjoy listening to your monologues. I could listen to you just on and on. But like I said, on my way home from work, I just started listening. I'm out on the street all day, so I haven't got a radio with me. And I heard it in the car, and I had to say something. I know it's not going to solve anything, but I just had to say that you're not alone.
Thank you very much. Take care. Off it is to Tampa. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Please, try to stay in a good mood. Although I know on a day like this, it's hard to do with some of the small-minded people that call in. But I've been in this town all my life. I was born, raised, and educated here 48 years ago. And if there's some natives out there listening, maybe I'm going to hit a nerve here, but I don't care, because you've had some real church calling today. And you'll go to anywhere in this town, Harbor Island, Cuban Club, Spanish Club, Italian Club, and these people jump and tell you their opinion. But I'm of the adage that it's better to remain silent and appear intelligent than to open your mouth and remove doubt, especially when the evidence is right before them. They know all the stuff about abortion and anti-Semitism, and yet they show what jerks they are, what total jerks they are by the way they express themselves. You can take these people to the Mayo Clinic, put their brains in a bird's butt, and the butt will fly backwards. That's the way I feel about it. See this apathy growing here now. It was bad in the 60s, but this is the worst I've ever seen it. These people sit in their thumbs. They don't dial the phone because they must have polio in the fingers, but yet they'll get you in the street and they'll talk to you for 2 hours. I always say, hey, don't talk to me. Talk to a guy that's got a phone like this in the ribbon you can do something about. You can better the town. Don't just give it lip service. Get off your thumbs. Get off your butts. I know. I've seen it for 48 years in this town. And a lot of people feel the way I do. Don't talk. Actions speak louder than words.
Thank you very much.
You're doing a good job, and you got a good show, and I just hope you have more shows like this, because these are the kind of subjects we have to bring out and not sweep under the doggone rug.
Thank you very much. Well, Gary Sung. Gary is brought to you this afternoon by KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, the reliable airline.
Oh, boy. That's a sponsor. Hi, Bob.
Yeah, sponsor. I had to read the intro. How much do I get paid for that?
That's part of your job, buddy.
No, I beg your pardon. There's nothing whatsoever in my contract about that.
Traffic right now.
Care Center is having a huge pre-inventory sale. Everything in the store is on sale, with most items reduced 25% or more. And there are some one-of-a-kind and demo models that are reduced even more than 25%. The Auric XL.
Bob?
Hi.
Hi. This is the 4th time I've ever called you. I'm very nervous. I'd like to say that some of your callers about, being against Jews, being anti-Semites, the ones that were anti-Semites, are a good reason why my girlfriend and I have decided never to have a child and bring a child into this world.
I wouldn't worry so much about the anti-Semites call. I'd worry a hell of a lot more about the people that didn't bother to call.
Yeah, well, that's another reason, and there's plenty of other reasons, just the way that this world seems to be going. We've made the decision not to have a child. A few years back, we were both fresh out of high school. She was using birth control and became pregnant, and we did have an abortion. We had it together, I say both of us, because it has affected me emotionally when I do think about it. However, rationally, we've just decided not to have a child. Also, there are genetic problems in both of our families. Like I said, I'm very nervous.
You're doing fine.
Okay. It's these people that call in with that sort of hatred, and also other callers that call in that just have a general short-sightedness as to what's going on in this world. That a good way to put it, this is one way we were talking, is that people hunt to keep, say the deer population down so they don't hurt themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel everyone should have children. Mankind is the most destructive animal on this planet. And why on earth should we make it Okay, Bob. Thank you. Keep it up.
Take care. On Saturday morning, I believe it was the St. Petersburg Times. On the front page and on page number 3 were 2 photographs, or 2 stories, really, is what it amounted to, with photographs that accompanied them that kind of really help spell out just precisely what it is that's going on today. On the front page was the incredible story about the nation of China. And a picture of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, possibly 1 million people in the main square in Beijing. Orderly, polite, sincere. Not even asking for that much. On page 3, there was a story about an anniversary of the demonstration, the 20-year anniversary of the demonstration in Berkeley in People's Park. And how it had turned very ugly, and there was a photograph of a man coming out of somebody else's store with an armload of clothing through a broken window. Clearwater, you're on there at 970 WFLA. Hi, Clear.
Yes, these people calling in today, I'm just curious why you're pandering to all the Jewish people, you big fat pig.
Let's go to Madura Beach. Madura, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hello?
Yeah.
First-time caller, Bob. Hello?
Yes, go ahead. I don't have much time, please.
Okay. First of all, that woman, I think she's a paid POL agent because I hear her always, this anti-Semite, Second, I just opened up my Jewish Heritage paper and I saw detailed stories on Bresky, and I was just stunned. That's why I called you. I never would have called you. Do you know how old he is?
Yes, I do.
Well, what more can I say then? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas, if you so desire. Don Richards standing by at the WFLA News Desk. Thank you, Donald. Nobody can see into the future. You never quite know for sure what's going to happen, and no matter how well you make your plans, there are times when things just go wrong. Well, if you're going through some of those times, you don't have to lose your house. Nor do you have to just take any old offer that comes down the street for a second mortgage. Yeah, there are lots of ex-ball players who are working for mortgage companies now. Not mortgage brokers, but mortgage companies. And, it's a take it or leave it proposition. 970 WFLA. Hi, Brandon.
Hi. I was working out and lost contact with you, but I've heard some remarks. The issues on anti-Semitism, I believe. And I've heard some comments about, one guy from up north saying, the people down here. Well, I'm one of the people down here. I'm born and raised down here.
Well, most of the people down here are from people up there.
Yeah, right. You don't have, it's not a geographical location. It really isn't. But this anti-Semitism is just just another face of the bigots, and that's what you're hearing from.
I'm not so sure if it's anti-Semitism. You see, if we were talking about Israel, then reasonable people could disagree. We were talking about one little man, one individual little man going through some hard times. Well, this isn't just anti-Semitism. This is just pure hatred of one human being from another human being.
See,
I suppose where the anti-Semitism comes in, if there is indeed anti-Semitism here, is in the absolute lack of response on the part of the 30, 40, 50,000 people listening to it.
Yeah. Well, it's... we sure don't look at our fellow man much anymore. But, the Jewish man who was calling said he was becoming afraid, and I say to him, this is not time to become afraid. And all the times that he's compromised, if he has compromised in the past, from some other, or joined in a prejudice, or joined in an off-color statement about anybody, or any minority, anybody, then he is just giving fuel to fire of all this bigotry. And, you get a shot in the arm. We've got, for the last 8 years, it's become to the severe right, and we're getting to the point where the bigots are getting a shot in the arm. This country is they are being vocal now. We people, and the people who have the open minds, the people that don't want to turn their backs on their fellow man, we don't know how to open our mouth. We don't know how to stand up anymore. We want to sit and watch our little television, and hell yes, it's hard work to survive every day. It's hell of a job to survive every day, just in our own little world. But we can't do that anymore. We can't stop looking at our fellow man. It's time we started giving back what they're putting on us now. That's everybody, the silent majority.
I hear what you're saying. I'm sorry, but I'm up against the time wall here.
Okay, Bob.
I thank you very, very much for it.
Okay, Bob.
990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. WFLA.
Hello.
John Wiley.
Talked about the Panama thing. And I really wasn't going to call, but I had to. This is the same mentality that this country has of ignoring this type of behavior, and they destroyed. They looked the other way. This here in Pinellas County, there was a sign. I don't know, probably.
Well, the most disgusting thing about this entire afternoon is we're not talking about some abstract here. We're not talking about some faithless people. We're talking about a man that damn near everybody that listens to this show knows. We're talking about a man that damn near everybody that has been along with Lassiter for any period of time got a big charge out of the series of programs that Bresky and I did. That's what we're talking about. And we're talking about a community that just doesn't give a damn at some of the most despicable, horrible things that have been said about a man laying in bed waiting for a bone marrow transplant.
You're talking about the same community that back in the 50s, and if there's some of the elderly people out there who can still remember it before they took it down, was a sign above one of the bridges coming into St. Petersburg that said Jews, blacks, and whatever else was not welcome.
I never saw the sign, I have to be honest with you, and I think it's really, frankly, unfair to somehow try to label the majority of people that live in this community with being here back then. I don't think they were.
Oh, I know. I'm not labeling the whole everybody. It was just a certain group, and you were talking about that group is now becoming more vocal. And I don't know, it seems to me that I'm sorry, it really makes me angry, and I guess I'm kind of like as bad as they are, because I feel intolerant toward them, and that's pretty scary. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Clearwater, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Number one, I'd like to refer about 3 calls ago to that rectal opening that called you for one sentence. I don't know, called you fat pig while you're letting all the Jewish people talk. Number one, addressing him, I'm a Roman Catholic with parents who are Italian. And I just have to go with a mentality like this and tell him that I personally feel that no ethnic group has lent to this world as much as the Jewish people have. In medicine, in the intellectual value, educationally, right down the line. And I always come back to one thing. I see lesser amounts of kids today roaming around with braces, thanks to Dr. Jonas Salk, who was a miserable Jew, as this gentleman would know. And I'll tell you something, my friend, if you ever get there and the guy ever needs brain surgery, I have a couple of proctologists I can lend him.
Well, there's something else, too, that I'd like to add besides what Jonas talks. And let's bring it right back to the guy that started this whole thing, the guy whose name's Jan Bresky. There are a lot of things. I thought Jan was, frankly, a little too syrupy for my taste. But there are a hell of a lot of grandmothers in this community, in this market, who feel a lot better because they talk to Jan Bresky because their damn grandchildren and children won't talk to them.
Well, I don't know. It boggles my mind. It really boggles my mind. And like a lot of people a lot of them can't express themselves because, you have to be sick to go with a race. Like I heard a fellow when Paul Gonzalez was on your program, and this guy was saying, send all the blacks back to Africa. This horse's ass.
He's not the horse's ass, my friend. He's actually rather amusing. The horse's ass are the people that don't respond to it.
But they should have sent how many blacks are buried in Vietnam, how many of soldiers have gone down the drain to save this jackass's backside. And you never think of those things. It's amazing. It's literally amazing. But I'll tell you one thing. They better know it. You've got the Israeli Army and Air Force.
We're not
over
talking about the Israeli Army and Air Force. We're talking about Jan Bresky, but I thank you very much for the call. John Richards standing by. They were the top corporate donor for the Humane Society campaign. Tuesday is Humane Society Director Phil Snyder's last day, and he'll be joining Gardner & Company live from Express Press. And I mention this because I don't normally promote Gardner's show, not for any particular reason. I just normally forget it. But I mention this because I'm really, really amazed. I remember listening to that show that day and how much money was raised and how concerned all the people were for the little doggies. And I like little doggies and little pussycats, too. And I think that the Humane Society is an incredible organization. But I mention it because earlier today, a human being was mentioned who's having some tough times and some severe medical problems and is just in as much trouble as little doggies are. And all it really seemed to get was a lot of hate and a lot of non-response. I don't remember one person during the course of the Humane Society show calling up and saying derogatory things about little doggies. But quite a number of people today said very derogatory things about a human being that is known to most of you. And I've had to sit here and pull teeth. Literally sit here and pull teeth. Shame you, to the best of my ability and knowledge, shame you into having some kind of a response. Well, I want you all to be sure to listen to the Alan Gardner Show tomorrow morning and pat yourselves on the back for the Tampa Bay community's humanity towards animals. But don't ever forget this afternoon. And I never will let you forget this afternoon as long as I'm in this market. St. Petersburg, you're on the air at 970 WFLA. Well, St. Petersburg, let's try it again. Bad line. Such as life, please call back if you so desire. Clearwater, your turn at 970 WFLA.
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air.
Bob, I'm a very close friend of Rabbi Jan Bresky, and I just want to thank you very much for helping him, talking about him. I will say that I was in his office last week when he was in the hospital, and there was a note on his desk stating that one of the important people he wanted to talk to contact was you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just too bad that you're right. It's too bad that we don't. It's very hard for me to talk. It's the people who don't call. It's the people who are silent that you have to worry about. That you have to be fearful of. It's too bad there is so much hate. But we're used to that, and we're stronger than that. We can overcome that. And what Rabbi Bresky is trying to do is just have peace and love and caring with the Christian community, the Jewish community, whatever it is, whatever race. And that's the kind of man he is. And if he could hear this, he would be very saddened by this, although he knows what's going on. I just want to thank you, Bob, for doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Take care. Off it is to St. Petersburg. Saints, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Afternoon, Bob. How are you doing today?
Miserable.
I understand
Disgusted.
that. I've heard part of your show on my way in, and I definitely think you're on the right track. You got the right point. This bigotry and hatred just shows how small these people are. Like you're right. Most of the
the
people.
bigotry and the hatred is one thing. I can deal with that. That's real easy to deal with. What I can't deal with is I'm sitting here looking at virtually an empty board of calls. I'm having a very difficult time dealing with, you want to call it apathy or silence, it doesn't make any difference, because I'm sitting here really wondering where the hell are most of the people who listen to this radio station.
Well,
Where are they coming from?
I agree with you. I was listening to you driving in. That's why I got on the phone when I got in, because that's part of the problem in this world today. Nobody wants to speak out. Nobody wants to stand up for what they believe in. They're afraid it's going to look bad on them or look bad on their neighbors. And, I did hear
I think I would be so disgusted I would quit on the spot if I thought the majority of people listening to this show were afraid to stand up for a Jew.
Well, Bob, I heard the one fellow that got on with his famous one-line thing. I'm an Anglican. I'm studying for the priesthood. I think that people like that need to remember Jesus Christ was the perfect Jew.
Take care. One more hour yet to go. Do with it as you will. Sometimes I sit here in shell shock. This afternoon is one of those times. At the risk of being overly melodramatic about it, and at the risk of going into too much detail, I mentioned a guy named Jan Bresky, who is known to most people who listen to talk radio. Ain't doing so well. And the fund has been established to help defray some of his medical bills, which are extensive. It immediately drew what some might refer to as anti-Semitic responses. And I suppose since they mentioned the fact that obviously Rabbi Jan Bresky is a Jew, then some people might consider them to be anti-Semitic. I just think they were callous and thoughtless and inhuman. But these people aren't swift enough to be anti-Semites. Requires a degree of thought. I was stunned by, for what all practical purposes amounts to, the absolute lack of response to this type of rhetoric, to this type of cruelty. And spent, I guess, the best part of the last 2 hours, in essence, beating the audience over the head, saying, God, why aren't you responding? Why doesn't this make you sick to your stomach? Why is it that this type of behavior, that this type of callousness goes more often than not just totally without any response at all anymore? And I suppose the more I beat the audience over the head, the less genuine the response. I just don't know anymore. I just don't know anymore. Every day I feel like a bigger and bigger fool. A bigger and bigger sucker. I just don't know anymore. I don't know who you are. I don't know who I am. I don't know if it's worthwhile. I mean, as silly as this sounds, and you know, I appreciate we're talking emotion here. If I could blow out of this town tonight, I would. Of course, it's just as bad in the next town. I appreciate that. But right now, the emotion is, if I could dump on you people, if I could get the hell out of here tonight and just leave you to wallow in your own gutter, I would. I swear to you. Which is a terrible thing to say. It's a terrible way to feel. Last hour I mentioned the Alan Gardner remote tomorrow. I was just informed that in 3 days Alan Gardner raised more for the Humane Society of Tampa than has been raised for your beloved Uncle Dickie Norman in the last 6 months. And many of the people who were so generous to little doggies at the Humane Society were the people listening this afternoon who had nothing to say about a man laying in what could conceivably be his deathbed, being vilified on the air here by sluts. I just don't understand. I truly just don't understand. I mean, is it really asking too much for a lousy couple of minutes of your life to at least pay lip service to another human being? And say such activity, such language is appalling to me? Is that asking too much anymore? Out of your busy lives? It's amazing how you have time when the topic is a tad more frivolous. Or when the topic is a little bit closer to home, like telling some other woman who lives 3,000 miles away what to do with her body. Then you seem to have the time. I'm so damn disappointed in you today. I truly am. I don't give a damn if you believe that or not. But I'm telling you from my heart, I am incredibly disappointed in you today. And if there was a way to blow each and every one of you out and start fresh, I would. That's how much you disappoint me. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi.
Hi.
I heard a saying once, and it goes like this. All it takes for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And as I was in my car and heard this conversation on the way home, I can't get out of my car. I drive through a part of the town where it's just not possible to call from a payphone. So know that some of us are in cars on the way home hearing this and can't do a darn thing about it, especially some of the traffic tie-ups I've heard about today. But I'd like to say that the verbal 10% who feel and espouse this acidic and all-consuming bitterness toward Jews or anyone who's different make it really hard for the sane rest of us. Call me a Jew lover, that's fine. Call me nigger lover, that's okay. But to the Jews and the other minorities out there, please know that there are those of us who wish good health and success and happiness and all good things to them and all mankind. You need a little perspective today, Bob. You need to keep up what you're doing and stand for something and be our conscience, because you are a good man doing something. We're not
the community that needs Lassiter for their conscience is a community in very, very, very deep trouble.
Well, someone to remind others. Someone that has the ears of a whole community. Because there's those of us that aren't in your position. We touch a few. And we lay sanity on lines around us, and hopefully we touch as many as we can, all we know. But you touch so many. So I just wanted to call and say that we're not all bad. There's some of us out there that feel pretty good and really can't get to a phone sometimes.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Take care. Seminole, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, Bob?
Yes, Seminole.
You talk about all this hatred and bigotry. And, the government forces a lot of that on its people. Now, they just did a study in a very prestigious medical university. I don't want to give the name of it. About what type of odor, what type of juices come out of a man when he dies. And in this study that the government funded that we paid for with our income taxes, they said Jews and blacks emit a very foul odor at death, whereas Irish people create a nice sweet odor. Now, you got stupid studies like this. These are the things that foster all this hatred. All this stuff wraps up into the unconscious mind of all these people out there.
And, of course, you don't want to give the name of that university or the study.
I can't.
No, you can't.
Well, can you imagine that?
Why couldn't you if it's a public study, sir?
Pardon?
Oh, why couldn't you if it's a public study?
Oh, it's Harvard Medical School.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine that?
No, sir, I can't.
Well, this is true. This is different odors that people emit after they expire. And this is something that we paid for with our income taxes. So that's all I want to say.
Okay. That certainly added a great deal of conversation. A man who always adds a great deal of the conversation, usually the same tired old stuff, Malfunction Junction, Interstate 4, Interstate 275, day in and day out.
Never stops complaining.
US 19 in Belcher.
I'm getting darn tired. I have sponsors coming out to Yin Yang, and he still makes fun of me.
And on top of that is taking up more and more and more of my precious, valuable show with its overabundance of sponsors for the traffic report.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Bubba.
How are you getting so many sponsors, Gary?
I got my ways, pal.
The sponsor, Gary McHenry, with